Excellent.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Unheard Cries of a Mother, the podcast, where we dive into the raw, unfiltered stories of motherhood, the joys, the struggles, the sacrifices, and the triumphs. Here, we amplify voices that too often go unheard, shining a light on the incredible strength, resilience, and love of mothers around the world. I'm your host, Sabrina Ben Salmi, and I invite you to join us as we uncover the stories behind the smiles, share lessons learned, and create a community that uplifts, supports, and inspires. Let's honor the unheard cries and celebrate the silent victories of motherhood together. Welcome to the show, Siobhan. It's an absolute honor to have you here. And I'm so excited to actually speak to you. So, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to speak with you.
Oh, not as excited as I am. So excited to get to know you at a deeper level. So we'll jump straight in. I'm going to go straight to the first question that I've got here for you. So my first question is, can you share a pivotal moment in your motherhood journey that shaped who you are today?
Yes, I can. One comes to mind immediately. So when I was actually pregnant with my first, well, it's after my first daughter was born. So she's now 7.5. So yeah, back then I was working in the corporate world and, I planned to go back after my maternity leave. Often we do that and things change when the baby's born. And, something kicked in inside of me to want to be there for her more, be around more if possible. But I didn't know how I could make a business flexibly. What could I do without going back to the corporate world? So at that pivotal point was I think my drive kicked in to make a business, to make this work for her. And so she was really a catalyst for change in my life on so many levels. She inspired me to set up my business, to also just turn my whole life around. And literally from that moment, my life has changed immensely.
Oh, it's gorgeous. That's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I just get images flashing as you speak about that because I myself, as a mum, can relate to that. And I'm sure that some of our listeners and watchers will be able to go, yeah, actually, when I gave birth, like everything changed and I had to do it for them. So that's beautiful.
Thank
Really
you.
beautiful. So the next question that I've got is, what's one part of your story that you feel has gone unheard or unacknowledged?
In relation to motherhood.
It's, you're in the hot seat is entirely up to you.
Okay.
Yeah, just if it pivots towards business or motherhood, but yeah.
Okay. Okay. Unheard. I would say when my child was born again. So that moment, I would say defining moments is stepping into motherhood. Not knowing what to expect. But my own mother died when I was a teenager. So not having my mother there, I've built up over the years a lot of resilience. Anyone who knows me knows I'm really strong. But at the same time, I have a very big heart. And I think at that moment in time, I was like, okay, I can do this. It's fine. I've got through other challenges. And when I say challenge, it's a beautiful challenge. It's got stepping into motherhood. But at the same time, it was the unknown, and knowing, I think the void of not having my mum there at that moment in time was the void was opened up once more. Where I felt I'd healed, it highlighted a need to heal again because there was a mother wound again that had opened up for the lack of her presence there. I think I was again noticing people that had the grandmother there and or had somebody to support them during the early days, or I really felt that loss once again. So I would say that it reignited the grief process again for me. So as much as a beautiful time, it was a very emotional time for me. So yeah, I'd say that was something that not everybody knows.
That's a very beautiful share. And it's interesting. The more I'm getting to speak to mums, I'm often presented with the fact that how do I mother without having a mother or having a
Yeah,
good relationship with my mother? So
yeah.
it's a very interesting topic that keeps coming up for mums. And
Yes.
it's, like you're saying, it's this bittersweet in a way. Like, there's this incredible excitement, but there's this fear. And it happens even when you have got a good relationship with your mum or if your mother is around. And it's interesting just hearing mums have those similar journeys. And I think it's
Mm.
so beautiful that we're coming onto this platform and just sharing. So for number one, like to let mums know, like we're not on our own because we sort of
Yeah,
feel like this is just happening to me. And you go, oh, wow, that's similar. That's really
yeah,
good. I can draw something from this. So thank you very
definitely.
much.
No, you're welcome. And I think there's something in that where, everyone's celebrating you and celebrating the baby, and it is definitely a moment for celebration. But I think there's something in that moment that often women feel that they can't share that vulnerability, that it's triggered something else in them. It's brought up, and maybe perhaps it's similar with those that have not so good relationships with their mothers. I mean, mine was amazing, but it brings up anything connected to your mother relationship, I feel, whether they're absent or whether the relationship wasn't good or whatever they may be. So behind it all, you're celebrating and it is an amazing time, but I think those things can get overlooked. People are often just making sure the mum is well and healing and all of those stuff, but there's a lot of emotions that come up. So for me, I use it as a point for healing, a journey, beginning a healing journey.
Oh, you've said that so beautifully. Like, I can definitely relate. Like, it's funny because I remember when I first gave birth, I remember my mum being there, dad being there. I was just so similar to what you've described, but it was this thing of they put her in my arm. My oldest is my daughter. And I was excited but petrified. I didn't say anything. I was like, oh my God, like she's really here. And I'm responsible for a whole human being. And like I love what you're saying, just actually checking in with the mom to be able to say, are you okay? Because you don't want to burst everyone's bubble. Everyone's happy, right? So you
Yes.
and how do you kind of articulate that I'm petrified? I don't know what's going on. I'm
Yeah.
confused. I'm
Yeah.
but some mums don't connect with the baby early on. So it's a
Yeah. There can be a
beautiful.
loneliness there. Yeah.
Exactly. So glad
Yeah.
you touched on that. Thank you.
Okay.
So the next question I have is, how has motherhood changed your sense of identity?
Mm, really interesting. Well, I've touched on there already that motherhood coincided with a healing journey, and that's what my daughter was a catalyst for change in terms of setting up a business, so changing my whole life. um but yeah, I think it really transformed me as a person in so many ways. So it inspired me to go on the healing of grief, look at my inner child and the trauma that I experienced losing my mum at a young age and everything else that came with it, catapulted into adulthood. So it took me on that trajectory, which meant that I changed a lot of my life, the way that I was living, the way that I was working. I went on a real, yeah, I would say spiritual and wellness journey alongside personal development, which I think most people, when you set up a business, you go on a personal development journey because whether you like it or not, you're catapulted to the front. There's no safety net. So I
Exactly.
think on both levels, starting a business and becoming a mum, I just dived straight into the deep end of getting to know myself and transforming from the inside out.
Do you know, I love the way you've just actually said that because I think some things are just normalized and we don't realize the intensity because you got things like, moving home, getting married, starting a new business, having a baby, and you did two at the
Yeah.
same time, like almost, quite daunting, like scariest things to
Yeah.
do, really exciting, but they're
Yeah.
major life shifts. And you
Yes.
two of them at the same time, like simultaneously.
I do. I am known to have a habit of doing many things at once. I don't go easy on myself. But I also, shortly after my daughter was born as well, I decided to stop drinking. Just decided to lead a totally sober lifestyle, and that was just part of my wellness and spiritual journey. I thought I just want to be the best person that I can be for her, for myself, for my business. And it was a huge shift. I would say it was a monumental shift in my whole life.
That is beautiful. As you shared that, you remind me of two things. So, number one, I read an article about when we're pregnant, the baby actually sends stem cells to damaged organs to heal them, the mother. And that moved me. Like, it's like when you think about being pregnant, I don't know about yourself, but for me, I always felt like, I was obviously had to eat well to kind of nurture the life inside of me. But I didn't know that as much as I was building this new human being, that baby came along, was healing my organs. And I thought that's really
Mhm.
profound. But then when you said what you said about your journey, and congratulations to you, by the way, incredible.
Thank you.
There's another thing that I read about some indigenous cultures. So they believe, similar to the stem cells, that when we're pregnant with a baby, that baby actually comes through to heal us of
Wow.
something. So it's interesting that you
I
went
feel
on this
that.
journey of healing and wow, being sober. That's so moving.
Yeah, I really
Also,
feel that. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know that. And I would
yeah,
say,
have a look into it. It's
I
really
will, because
fascinating.
I would say that she wasn't, yeah, my daughter wasn't just a catalyst for change. She was definitely brought here to teach me and to help me heal.
Oh, goosebumps. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. So my next question is, can you describe a time when you felt complete? Oh no, sorry, I've done that one. I've got so emotional. I missed it. I'm going to
Oh.
the same question. What has been the most rewarding aspect of motherhood for you?
Mm. I think the most rewarding aspect of motherhood, well, there's many actually, but I think one of the most rewarding aspects of motherhood is knowing how much impact you're having on another human's life. I think just even for me, it's often the smallest moments. It could be like on a Sunday afternoon and you're playing with them or talking with them or going to walk in the forest and just hearing how they speak about you or look at you or talk about you and the sweetness of it. They're still very young. And I think it's just beautiful to know, especially as I touched on, I lost my mum at a young age, that the family unit wasn't the same again. So I think the beauty that you can recreate that by bringing this human into this world, that I think it's the love. We'll just say it's the love.
Yeah, I love the way you just release, you surrendered and just said it's love. It's just
Yeah,
that's beautiful. I
thank
felt
you.
that. That is really
Thank
nice.
you.
And what advice would you give to your younger self before becoming a mother?
Oh, okay. I would say travel as much as you can. This is always as easy. I mean, you can in time as they get
Yeah.
older, but during the very early years, growing a business, growing very small children, that hasn't been as free and easy. But I would say on a deeper level, I would say get to know yourself better.
Mhm.
Yeah, so really get to know yourself. So dive into a bit more of the deeper work on yourself. Really get to understand yourself. I think, you don't need to wait for a catalyst for change, really. I think there's something beautiful about doing the healing work inside. I mean, I did mine retrospectively when my daughter was here, but how amazing would it be if I had gone on that journey before, but it wasn't meant to be that way.
Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. That's beautiful. So, how do you balance the emotional weight of being a mother with your personal dreams and aspirations?
That can be a challenge sometimes, I would say. Um, I think how I balance it is it does help that I have a supportive husband. I think that helps a lot because I don't
Yes.
have that guilt trip, I don't want that guilt trip. Although my elder daughter has been known to throw some guilt trips if I had a trip coming up that I had to go on, or something like that. I always need to really explain it, but I'm very grateful for the beauty of having a flexible business. Like I can always be there for special Christmas concerts, whatever it is. But I think how I balance it is by having some childcare to support me so that I can focus on my business 100% when I need to, and having a supportive husband. And then really communicating. I think most of all is communicating to my girls. Like they are a big motivator for me. I want to make them proud and explaining what mummy's doing. I'm recording a podcast. I'm going to speak on these stages. I'm going to, oh, wow, that's great. I set up a second business recently and sharing it with them. I bought a cake that we could all have with a new business name on
Oh,
it, balloons. They weren't just for me, I promise. It was for them to be part of the journey. I want them to see it, to learn from it, and I think, I know you've brought your children into the business world as well. So it's not a disconnect entirely. I believe in blending.
I love that. As you're talking, I remember like at the start of my own journey, I was a hot mess. I tell every mum, like, I was a hot mess.
Yeah.
I don't care. The reality is that if I make it look different to what it is, I'm giving you a falsehood of the reality. I love the fact that you said actually it was difficult. You know, there were parts
Yeah,
that were difficult, but we made it work. My husband's supportive, but
yeah.
childcare, it's a mix because the reality is our journeys are different. But when it comes to motherhood, it's not perfect. You know, the kids will
Oh,
definitely
definitely
remind, they will
not.
humble you.
100%. They're the biggest teacher. That's why I said
That's
that. Your biggest teacher. They will show you the bits of you that need to be
Yes,
worked on.
exactly. They will definitely do that. But I love what you said about inviting your children into the business, because I remember the fact that because there was this work-life balance, which was not balancing, may I add, there was so much stress. There's so much stress around it, and my children resented work because I was going off. I was, mummy had to close the door, mummy had to go off, and it was very much something that was taking mummy away. So I really love what you're saying, is that when we start to invite our children in, having the cake, having the balloons, they've got all these beautiful core memories, like, oh, we had that cake and we had that balloon and you gave me this. So now they're falling in love with something that you're actually in love with, and it helps to make a little bit of peace, so they don't feel like you're being taken away by this dream or ambition that you're building. So it's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
I really like that. So the next question I have is, can you share a lesson that you've learned from your own, your own mother or a mother figure that's helped shape how you parent today?
Oh, okay. So I would say from my own mum, a lesson that I've learned is something that I'm working on, and I do work on a lot, is patience. Yeah, I'm not
Mm,
born with patience. I would say I'm a fire sign. I'm quite I move very fast. I move very quickly, whether it's in business. I think that's served me well in business. I can just go, 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 go. But, learning to slow down,
mm,
learning to just be a bit more present, be more patient. My mum was a lot softer and slower. So
mm,
I always keep that in mind of what do I remember beautifully about my own mother was that gentle side. So how can I embrace that? What needs working on? How can I improve as a mother? And it's not to say what's right and wrong, but like I always want to try to do better as a mother. And that's not shaming myself, but I will
mm.
check, I do always want to try and do my best. I know what it's like to have, childhood traumas and so on. And I think you have to be mindful of how you are as a parent. And I think I have that always front of mind.
That's beautiful. You and I are a bit similar. There's definitely some similarities there. Yeah, I'm very quick paced, and the patience. As soon as you said patience, I was like, yeah, I'm
That's,
definitely working on that.
yeah, that's one that I'm always having to work on, if I'm
Yes,
honest.
it is. I guess I think for me personally, it's an ongoing journey. I think it's
Yeah,
just those things, and it's contextual, isn't it? It shows up differently in different contexts. But
yeah,
motherhood definitely shines a light on, how patient are you,
yeah,
and how do you run your kids, and how do you run your business? They're slightly different, so those
yeah,
nuances
definitely.
are slightly there.
Yeah, they don't always cooperate. You need to know
Yes.
that. Yeah, when you're
Yeah.
trying to get things done. So is that okay? So how can I approach this differently? But really learning from the softness of my mother.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. That is really nice. And just as you were saying it, it's just like a nice energy of Zen. Really beautiful.
Mm.
So the next question I have is, how do you define success as a mother?
Happy children. I would say happy children. If I hear my children happy, singing, laughing, even if they're being really loud and I didn't want them to be really loud, it's sweet. I heard them coming in earlier, um, and they're singing and shouting up the road, and they're content in themselves. They feel safe to be like that. They don't feel like, oh, I've got to be quiet, or there's
Mm,
no tension there. They can be happy and bold in themselves, and I think that just shows that they feel comfortable.
that's so true. I love that. The, them being loud and expressing themselves indicates they feel safe. I love the way you put that. That's beautiful.
Mm.
I really like that.
You.
And I love the way you just went into it. It's like happy children. That's it. That's the success.
Yeah, it's just
You've
straight
done it.
away. Yeah.
That's it. So the next question I've got is, if you could rewrite any part of your motherhood journey, what would it be and why?
Mm. I would say probably the first year, not being so hard on myself. Yeah,
Mm,
not being so hard on myself. worrying about what I'm going to do with this corporate role. Am I going to go back? Am I going to do this? So much time in my head worrying about this and what job will I do and what. But I mean, it served me well in the long run because I set up my business. But really, I think trust in myself. It will work out. But it's very easy to say it now, isn't it? Hindsight's a wonderful thing. But I think having faith in myself and trust in whatever it is you believe in, God, higher power, anything else, trust that it will work out.
Yes.
It's all going to be okay. You're doing a good job. It's going to be fine.
I love that. Just telling your younger self, just like not be so hard on yourself if you can do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Is, but you just made me just take a deep breath there myself, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, when you look back, we were just so hard on ourselves at the time, and
yeah.
we didn't know it was new, and
No,
it was just so much pressure that we sometimes gave our own selves. So
definitely. Like you have to have it
very,
all figured out. That you need to know what's happening and whatever. And I think there's probably a sense of safety and control there. Like,
yes, yes,
you want to make sure that you know where your income's coming from and all of that.
exactly.
So I understand that, but it's like, just take it easy. It will be
Yes.
trust.
That's a lovely note to mums, new mums that's coming
Mm.
into it. It's beautiful. So the next question is, how has societal pressures influenced the way you view or approach motherhood?
I think societal pressures, I feel it maybe in a different way as a business owner.
Hmm.
Personally, there are some people around me that are very much focused solely on motherhood, and there can be, maybe it's perceived pressures, I don't know, that if you're a woman that's going after your dreams, if you are career driven, that perhaps you're cold. Maybe you're not being as great a mother if you're not down on the floor playing Lego all day and so solely, given up yourself. As many people did generations ago, like on my mum's generation. For me, yeah, I feel that sometimes going after your dream, it can be less acceptable if you're a woman. If it's a man going off and traveling on a business trip to speak on stages and make money or whatever, it can be like, oh wow, he's doing great. I think for a woman, it's like, oh, the children just want you to be there. Oh, you're not able to pick them up from school, or there's a bit of sense of the mum guilt, that undertone of mum guilt that can be dished out, which most men, even I asked my husband, have you ever felt that? Like dad guilt. Didn't even know that existed. And it's true. They don't at all. So it's societal. It's like, oh, she's doing really good. Hmm. It's a bit of side-eyeing, I feel. So that could be perception, but that's what I've experienced.
No, I can totally relate. Like people that mums I know, my own journey, and I love the way you gave those examples. It's very subtle, isn't it? It's that soft,
Mm.
like mum guilt. Oh yeah, well you wasn't here to pick him up, for school, and
Oh,
kind of
yeah,
wanted you to be there for that. And
yeah,
think, well, why can't you just say, well done? It must be hard, or I'm
yeah,
aware that I'm missing those things. It means a lot to me, but
yeah,
I also need to make sure that I'm happy. So if I do this, I could be happier for them because
yeah.
I remember when I was. I think it was not maternity, it might be maternity leave, and I had to take time off. And people saying, brilliant, you can window shop. And that's fine if you like going shopping or window shopping. I do love going, but it was like terrifying for me, thinking, is that all I'm going to do? Like, I need to do something. I need to see people. I need to, follow my dreams and, inspire people. That was just really a big part of my life. So I think sometimes if we silence ourselves as mums, it's not good for our kids anyway. But again, everyone's journey is different. If you get to have the blessing to choose and that's what you want, that's what you want. I love the fact that you're saying there's no wrong or right approach to it. It's just
Yeah.
it's for you and your family. And
Exactly. I have no judgment on somebody that would want to stay at home entirely. That's up to them. But I think when people are putting that kind of guilt
yeah,
trip, it's usually more about them than it is about you.
it's
It,
true.
it can often be somebody mirroring a dissatisfaction in their own life, or maybe dreams that were unfulfilled. And that there can be something comes
Absolutely.
up, a bit of jealousy there or whatever. But I think for me, I would never put shame on anybody for your choice, whether you go and work in the corporate world, whether you stay at home,
Exactly,
whatever
vice
you choose to
versa.
do.
Because
Yeah,
we
whatever
don't go and say
you
to
do.
mums like, "Oh, you should be following your dreams." Like if you're at home and that's what you love,
Yeah,
happy for you being there because that brings you joy and fulfillment, and you should be
yeah,
able to do it and just support each other regardless of what that is.
yeah. I think as long as the mother is always being honest with herself, like,
Yes.
because sometimes there has been people I've known that have given up, totally put themselves on the back burner for their children. And kudos to them for that in the early years. But I think sometimes a lot of women suddenly come to their 40s, 50s, 60s, and they've lost their identity. So for me, it's really important that I'm able to show my daughters, that it's not this or that. You can have both. Might not
I
be
think I'm
easy, but you can.
I think I'm really glad you highlighted that point, because there is a real thing such as resentment, family resentment.
Yeah.
Sometimes, it could be for the father or the mother, where the children have matured, they've left the nest, so to speak. The husband's at the top of his career, and sometimes there is that resentment of, actually, I don't feel like I've done anything for me. Like, who am I? And
Okay.
you get to a stage, sometimes teenage stage, they don't sometimes appreciate you the way they used to, and it's
Yeah.
like there's this slow erosion. I've been speaking to mums about this slow and silent erosion. It's like there's so much expected of you. You're everything to everyone, but who are you to yourself? And then slowly there's this resentment that can creep in. And it's, we're human. We are human. We can't just give and never receive anything back. So I think you've raised some really good points there. Thank you. Really beautiful. So my next question is, what role has the community played in your journey, whether it's been a source of strength or something that you struggled with?
Oh, interesting. So I can speak to both sides, really. I think I had a false expectation of some people, some extended family members, shall we say. I had hoped that certain people would support me,
Mm.
uh, maybe from my husband's side as well as on my side. And I think I had expectations, and I learned, don't, try not to hold on to too many expectations of other people. Because my mum wasn't there, I had hoped that I'd have a bit more hands-on support from people. But I soon realised that wasn't the case, and that did start to cause some resentment inside.
Mm.
But I'm pleased to say that I've worked through that mostly now. Um, but yeah, that was disappointing. So learning not to expect too much. But then on the other side, I think I've made some great friends from my daughter's school. So there's a couple of mums there, a few mums that I'm really good friends with, and that's just um beautiful layer that we can talk about our children, what they're doing at school, and just support each other and have fun as well as mothers. So I would say I've had both sides of the coin.
That's beautiful. So the next question I've got is, how do you cope with the guilt or doubts that often come with motherhood? I know you've touched on it ever so slightly. I'm just
Yeah,
grabbing my charger.
yeah, go for it. So um I would say, yeah, the guilt, the mum guilt is an ongoing process, I think sometimes. Um I think, yeah, I can be hard on myself. So it's still a work in progress, to really understand, have I shown up as my best self as a mum today? If I've been overwhelmed from work or frazzled or whatever, am I showing up? For me, it's really important to not just be the best version of myself for my business and my clients and then be a nightmare when I finish. That's like I'm not being true. There's no real authenticity to myself. So it's really important for me to, I think, check in with myself and think, have I been a good mum today? Am I being patient? Am I being tolerant? Am I speaking kindly? Am I, as I said, being patient when they're going out the door to school? So for me, it's really important for me to take moments to check in with myself because I know how important it is. I really, really know how important it is. So it's not one and done. I think it's always just checking in with yourself. How am I showing up today? How was that? But I think the mum guilt I've learned, as I touched on already, if somebody's trying to put mum guilt on me, it's usually about them and it's not about me. It's usually maybe a dream that wasn't realized, or maybe a bit of resentment there, or judgment, from
Mm.
their perception. But we haven't walked in each other's shoes. We don't know each
Exactly.
other's dreams. We don't know each other's purpose on this lifetime. Yeah, some people, their purpose might have been to come here and have solely the mother role, but for me,
Yeah.
I feel like my purpose is much bigger than that, and I would hate to get to the end of my life and look back of what could have been a slideshow of what could have been of my life. That's like my worst nightmare, and I think I would not be doing I'll be doing a disservice to my daughters. How can I
Yeah.
say to them, go follow your dreams, go follow your dreams, but I'm not doing it?
So true. They say they
Yeah,
watch us. Very true. Very, very,
it's
very
yeah,
true.
be who I am, not what I say.
Yeah, I think that's so true. But I also love what you said. Like, sometimes if you're a mum listening to this, just what Siobhan's saying is like when people are saying sometimes it's projection, like don't take it to heart.
100%.
And I love the fact that you walk through some clear examples of how you speak to yourself, because I think that's the thing in life as a mother is not so much what's happening, is like how do I process this, what do I do when it happens. You know,
Yeah.
I can pretend that I'm okay, but you've given them a really nice demonstration on how do you talk to yourself, like what do you when they say it, are you sort of going, yeah, they're right, you know, and then you're walking away with this heavy cloud that they've just given you, whereas you can just, you know, say, okay, I'm actually doing my best and my best is good enough.
Yeah.
It reminds me, I remember a time, my children were very little at the time. I think I only had 4 children. And I remember saying to my children, I'm so sorry to burst your bubble. Mum doesn't know it all. And they were looking at me and they were going, you don't? And one of my
Oh,
daughters was really
no.
disappointed, my younger one. She was asking me something and I said, I'm not sure. Well, let's look at Google. And she was like, look at Google. Like, why don't you know? And I said, you know what, darling? I was a little girl like you. She went, no, I thought you were like a dinosaur. So there's all
Oh,
these beautiful things that come out of motherhood. But I remember that kind of fun interaction with my children was actually such a liberating experience for myself, because I remembered at some point in the conversation I just said, all I have as mum to you is to offer you my imperfection. I'm not perfect, but I do want to learn how to mother each of you in the way that you need. And it was
wow.
just so light, and realizing I was carrying so much. As mums, we carry so much. We really do.
Yeah, that's beautiful what you
Yeah.
shared there.
Oh, it's
That's
from me.
that is so beautiful. So, I love what you shared there, and it goes back to that communication with your children. It's like I will also say if I haven't been perfect, if I have been a bit snappy sometimes, I try my best not to be. But say if I have, you're not perfect, I will say, oh, I'm sorry
Yeah.
if I was a bit rude there. That wasn't really kind of me. I need to, you know. So I will always show that I don't always have it right. You know, that
I
I'm
love that.
flawed, that, you know, I'm sorry, this is how I apologize, explain it.
Exactly.
Maybe I should have sat down and listened a bit more. Or so I think just course correcting as you go along or reflecting on it, I think is important rather than letting it snowball. And what I will say is how I've come to the point of taking other people's opinions in my stride. I did not feel that way at first.
No,
I will say it's
exactly.
taken about 7 years to get there, right? And it's reflection, it's through introspection. So if
Yeah.
I could go back to a new mother, I would say, you know, if it's a mother-in-law, if it was a friend or someone at the school, I would say, you know, really think about whether they're projecting on you.
Yes, I love that. So, so true. And you reminded me, like, even in my journey, like I love the fact of, you know, just apologizing to kids. I love the first reaction when they sort of hear it, and especially culturally, because it's like I'm the adult, you're the child, you do, and we don't make mistakes, sort of things. And I remember as they growing up, and I'd apologize. And I remember one of them, they just sort of looked at me, it was quite uncomfortable, saying, oh, it's okay, mum, it's okay. Because they were just like, why are you apologizing to me?
Just
You're a
stop.
person. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, you're a person, I make mistakes. And I think just breaking down those barriers that I am going to make mistakes, and you know I'm okay to kind of confront it. And I think I love what you're saying about teaching and leading by example, because what I do love is that you hear when they interact, or when we're interacting, they will say like I'm sorry or I made a mistake, because it's okay to make mistakes, because otherwise we do, you know, there's
Yeah,
so many of us, I do coaching and mentoring, there's
yeah,
that fear of actually getting things wrong, there's that fear of failure.
mm,
And my kids just know, actually you just keep going, not saying they never have a down day, but
cool.
innately there's that knowing that actually I've just found another way, it doesn't work, I'll keep pushing, I'll keep pushing. So
Yeah.
I
You
love
give
that.
them permission. You give
Yeah,
them permission
exactly.
to be flawed as well. You
Oh,
know,
you hit the nail on
yeah,
the head.
isn't it?
That's
You're giving
it.
them permission that it's like, okay, so I can have an outburst or say something wrong or maybe
Yes.
not do the right thing, and it's okay. You know, I can course correct there and then.
Exactly. I love that. That's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Really, thank you for that. It's nice. So, the next question I have is, what do you wish people understood about the emotional labor that motherhood carries?
Mhm. I would say, yeah, there is like the motherhood load, that
Yes.
definitely is, and you know, I can't say, oh, men don't have it, but it's so true. That it's so true. It's a mother load that is the silent labor of work that we have emotionally. Before we even start our day, we need to think about, okay, it's World Book Day next week. Have I got a costume? All of these things, that's just the task side of things. But I would say the emotion, you really are running through your mind of as the child's needs met before you even think about. anything else that you need to do for yourself for that day, and then for your business on top. So I feel like hats off to all the women who, hats off to all mothers, but for those that are running businesses, wow, it's another level.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Very true. And I love the way you actually described it, because when you think about even having kids, I'm not sure if your children do it as yet, but I remember when my children were growing up a bit, like just heading towards teenage years, and then the others are following. It's like, oh, mom, what about this? What about that? And you realize you just you designate yourself in the family for everyone's diary. Like everyone's, what's going on? Like it's in the diary. So it's kind of like just here, and not in a way of that you don't want to be involved, or sometimes just say, oh, hey, this. But I remember, like, just as you were talking, it was like the unlearning to offload, to sort of retrain your environment, because I think as mums, we do jump in there and kind of do it all and just carry that emotion away until we go, actually, can I insert some boundaries? I didn't know what that word meant until I was 31, because it was non-existent in my life. I'll be honest, as a mother, it was just, there was no boundaries. I remember, having meals, my drink would be finished, I haven't drank it, kids are sort of like just hovering, sharing food, and it's lovely. But then you realize you sort of take on so much emotional weight, so much tasking, so much, micromanaging everything, and it's really draining and heavy up when after years of doing it, and then doing it at work, like you rightly said, or running a business. So it's a lot. It really is
very, very draining. It can be very, very draining. And I agree with what you said. That can build up a resentment. Sometimes women do hold on to it as well. And we some of us want to keep the control, that sense of feeling needed or whatever. But I think it is important to delegate even in your own house. I think it's
kids love to. They love to take on those tasks and manage it and go and chase after their siblings to make sure they keep.
Yeah, and as they get bigger, I think it's so important. Holding on to everything, it's too much of a burden. It's just too much for one person, and I think it fuels resentment, burnout, irritation, all of those things.
Absolutely, and illness.
Illness.
The reality is, what happens to a lot of us is burnout and illness starts creeping in, and it's
without a doubt.
But I love the fact that you made the distinction. It's not in comparison to, there's these conversations that go on, men have this and women, and it's not mine is any worse than yours, but just recognizing actually this is a lot for women. And
it is.
Speaking about what it is for me, you can share what it is for you, but I don't want to make it sound like one is more important than the other, because they're both.
Definitely not. But I think it just needs to be acknowledged. I think.
Yeah, I love the way you said that. Really nice, thank you. So my next question is, what legacy do you hope to live and leave behind for your children?
Okay, so legacy that I would love to leave behind and live is really to inspire my children, but mainly, I think, ultimately to inspire women to follow their dreams. To build a business that gives them the freedom to live a full life. To really be able to go on holiday, to travel, to have more ease. I'm all about let it be easy, whether it's at home, whether it's in business, finding ways to work smarter. So really inspiring and motivating women to follow their dreams and to lead a full life and successful. And in turn, my daughters to watch me as they are now and to see what's possible for them. If I can go this far, and I started my business later on in life, I was in my late 30s. So if I can go this far, just imagine what's open to them.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful. I love that. That is beautiful. What a beautiful legacy. And you're doing it, you're living it. My next question is, I just struggle with it. It's so lovely hearing. I've got to remember I've got to speak to you. How has motherhood transformed your relationships, be that with your partner, your friends, your family? Sometimes there's a little gift that these kids bring along to heal relationships, make it a little bit better.
That's really, really interesting. So I'd say it's helped the relationship of the healing, I would say, after my mum died. So it's really reminded me, although I knew already she was an amazing mother, it's really strengthened that spiritual connection, I'll say. And then with regards to family members, I think it's brought in family members closer because they come in to see the children and whatever. But at the same time, it's also on the other side, I don't have as much time to see everybody. When you're running a business and then you've got small children, I'm sure it changes as they get bigger.
Yeah.
It's still very small. I think I'm not as sociable as I was. I'm not out and about constantly, but that's good for me. I'm in this season of life and
Mm.
it's about family.
I love what you just said towards the end. I'm in this season, and it really is. I think motherhood, there's seasons,
Yeah,
as they grow, they go through different phases, and there's seasons. And to some
definitely.
extent, when they're very small, it's sort of like the hibernation season. We go to work or we build our business, we come home and spend that precious time with our children. And as
Yeah.
they grow up, it really is funny. You go to work, you go to into your business, you come home, you realize they've invited family over, and then you're like, okay, we're doing this tonight. So
That's funny.
there are seasons, so every
Yeah.
season will birth something unique in it. So I really like.
Exactly, exactly. And we need to adapt with that,
Yeah,
It's like sometimes the home of the business, different things will take priority. It doesn't mean that you've forgotten anyone, but I think that the
absolutely.
form of connection can look different with
Absolutely.
each
And thank
season.
God for technology. So, you can
Yes,
still keep in touch, but
exactly.
it just changes. And, when you get back together, it feels like you haven't missed each other as much, keeping in
Definitely.
touch and sharing photos and updates.
Yeah.
So, my next question is, what's the most unexpected lesson that you've learned from your children?
Mm, wow, unexpected lesson. I would say highlighting the things that I need to focus on and work on. I would say your children are the biggest mirror to
Oh,
you.
gosh.
Yeah. And that can be uncomfortable
Yes.
sometimes.
Tell me
It can
about
be beautiful as well because they will also show the things that you're great at or the things that you downplay in yourself and
it.
whatever. Oh, I
Mm.
love when you do that, Mum. Oh, I love this. Or oh, you know, if I get dressed up and I'm going to speak
Oh,
at an event, you look
oh
amazing.
my
Oh, they're like,
God.
wow, yeah. Or they're like my cutest little fans. But and in the same breath, they will show you, and I don't mean them physically telling me, oh, this is something about you you need to work on. I mean the things that will trigger within you,
Mm.
those areas that you might still need a bit more work on.
Very true. Oh, it's so funny. I love that. They're definitely got really good taste as you look gorgeous. I see you all over LinkedIn.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
she looks amazing. So it's nice to have your cheerleaders. But I love that what you said, that they are our biggest mirrors. They exactly are. They certainly are that. And I
Mm,
would say that I can resonate with what you shared, because I know that I wouldn't be who I am today or doing what I'm doing today if it wasn't for my children. And
absolutely.
I've got five, so I had every character you can imagine, right? Every cartoon character. So I had the ones that will subtly tell me, but I'll be like, oh, I have the one that go, bam, you're not doing this so good. My mum, you said this, you're on that call, you said this, but you've done that. I'm like, oh, okay, I better type this. And I think what was so surreal that came out when I was listening to you is I remember starting my dream when some of them were little, because they got quite a big age gap. So some of them were like teens and little. And I remember them saying, Mum, why are you not being honest? But I was building something. So obviously they're not seeing what I'm building because it's in my head. And I sat with him. I said, what do you mean? He goes, because you've got these big dreams that are not here yet, but you're like living them. And I go, yeah, that's how we create them, darling. So it was like such a interesting
Wow.
conversation, whereby had they not said it to me, I wouldn't have thought of having that conversation with them. Because that we have this thing, fake it till you make it. But I like to, just walk the talk, walk it until it becomes, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I don't really like the
brilliant.
fake stuff. But
No.
it was so interesting the way they had perceived what I was doing,
Mm,
because we were on the journey. So sometimes they were like, oh, well, we're not there yet. And I said, no, but it's interesting going to get it, isn't it? So we
yeah,
had these beautiful conversations. And when you speak to kids, the
yeah,
blessing is their imaginations are so like heightened. So as
yeah.
this conversation, all these different things were coming out, and it was such a gift.
Beautiful.
It knocked me off my socks the way they said it, because it made me go, oh, what did I do?
Yeah.
But it was so nice when we started to unpack it and just being on that journey, being on stage and them saying things like, I'm scared, I don't feel I could do this. And I said, well, I'm scared too. Let's do it together. They go, you're
Yeah.
scared? I didn't know you were scared. I said, but all of them up there are scared. No. And I said, go
Yeah.
on, put your hand up. So they'll put their hand up and they say to the audience, raise your hand. And the audience raise their hand. So we used to have these great conversations. And that's how we learn. That's how they learn, actually. That's how I taught them to realize that you feel the fear and do it anyway. And they
Yeah.
realized that they were scared, they didn't want to do it, but people were listening to them and they were getting this interaction and they were going, I could do anything up there. I'm like a wizard. It
Wow.
was so funny the way kids like perceive and get over their fears. And it was just the most magical thing that I couldn't have gifted them. It really was like this co-creation where they opened it up for us to just see things at a deeper
That
level.
is amazing. I absolutely love it. And I too take my children on that journey in the sense that with my daughter scared, she does Irish dancing and she's going to a
Oh,
competition and she was scared to go up. And I said, you remember when mummy was speaking on those stages and I told you I felt scared, but I still did it. Every time you do it, it will get easier. And you know, they can see that you're living
yeah,
it. You're living it.
yeah,
And I'm a big, big, big believer of yeah, stepping into your higher self, you know, that next level version of you,
yes,
you know, growing into her and
yeah,
showing them what's possible. Yeah,
yeah.
and
I
so
love
I think
that.
that's beautiful.
And letting them know how do I say that they energize you. Like I would when they were little always say to me, give me a kiss or a cuddle and I can just like pop on the stage, and they were like, Mum, don't go on the stage, I've got to give you my cuddle, when they do that thing, I've got
Oh
to give you
yeah.
that magic thing. Or we'll have like
Yeah.
a pebble, like a gratitude stone, and they're like, Mum, you forgot your gratitude stone. And I put it in my hand, and then I would go on stage petrified, but I'm like, they're watching me, but just holding that, you sort of think, who's doing the teaching? Like they just taught me something powerful and they just empowered me. Like I'm on stage now and I'm looking at my gratitude rock and I'm looking at them in the audience, they're like beaming at me. And all of a
Oh,
sudden it just, it takes all the fears away. So that's beautiful. Really nice, Siobhan. Thank you.
you.
My next question is, if you could change one thing about how society views or supports mothers, what would it be and why?
Hmm. I think, well, they are beginning to change it. I think childcare,
Oh,
nursery fees are insane. I luckily chose not to do that. For me, I ended up having an au pair come and stay with me so that I could, because yeah, because I didn't have my mum here. I had no one help with childcare. So I was like, oh, what am I going to do? I don't want to put them in nursery, but I need to focus on my business. So the beauty of having them at home. But I think not everyone has the space to do that. They're just not able to, or they don't want someone in the house. So I understand it's not for everybody. But with nursery fees, they're crippling people. And I just think a lot of women are not pursuing their careers because their whole salary will go on nursery fees. So they think, oh,
so
no point.
true. Do you know, I'm so sorry for my response, my face, because I'm like, where have you been all my life? Why wasn't you there when mine were young? That is so excellent, because I remember thinking of an au pair, but I didn't think of it as an as well as, like, I thought of it as well as, not an instead of. Because
Yeah.
I had kids that sort of, they were like came in clusters. So it was like two, that kind of, because of the age gap. So I always had like two in childcare and it was extortionate. Now I'm
Yeah.
thinking I could have just had an au pair. They could have been learning all these amazing languages. I could have
Yeah.
been the lady of doing what I was doing and like just been the happiest bunny ever. Oh my God, that's so
It really was
smart.
amazing. It really that I mean, it's not for everybody, but for me, I mean, my
Mm.
daughter's learned Spanish. That's it. One of them can speak Spanish.
Yeah,
And for me, people sometimes think, "Oh, you have an au pair," like it's only for a certain status of people. But really, it was actually a really amazing option for me,
it's
as
a
opposed to
very
not
good
to be.
option.
Yeah, it was. It
Because how
really
much it
helped me.
costs for
Yeah,
childcare. And I think what got me was so funny. I remember poor Sabrina, I say sorry to the younger mum. I remember going to school. I think at that time, I think the older one had come out of nursery, and I think I wanted to travel summertime. And I think it was Trey or Yasmin that was in private nursery. And I remember, oh yeah, we're gonna go on holiday. And they're like, they don't mind, the fees are still due. And I was like,
oh,
forever 6 weeks holidays. And it was so funny because it's a private nursery. You go off for a while, you lose your space, and that's the
yeah,
reality. So you have to, it's really expensive. Whereas if you have
really
a
is.
pair, that's an excellent idea. Mums,
Yeah, it's just
no,
amazing.
yeah, look into
Yes.
that. Yeah, really.
Yeah, I think for anyone who has people, I think I really encourage people to look into it. It enabled me to do my business. I don't think I would have been able to otherwise. And just having my
No.
children cared for in the house, obviously one's at school now, one's
Yes.
in preschool half the time.
Yes.
She goes to school this year, but it means I know chapters changing, another season. Um, but yeah, no, it really has enabled me to have that flexibility, because if you don't have that traditional support network, like grandparents that are willing to help with childcare, I never had that at all. So that wasn't available to me at all. So that, or full-time nursery, which was not great when you're first starting your business. And I really wanted them cared for in the house if I could. So
Yeah, I think
that's
that's
how we
excellent. Thank you for sharing that. It's absolutely excellent. Yeah, I'm just reminiscing. Really great. I wish I just thought about it, but I think, and even the option, sorry, just to add for mums, I love the fact that if you do have space, do it at home, but you do have au pairs that can just come in the day, like during like school run in the morning and in the afternoon.
Yeah,
So
like a pickup nanny, I think they call it.
yeah, so please, mums, look at the options, because I think that's a great idea if it works for you.
Yeah.
My next question is, what's the most misunderstood part of your your journey as a mother? People misunderstood about that.
Misunderstood. Yeah, I think it's something that we probably touched on a little earlier. I think it can be misunderstood if you are very driven and very ambitious. That the two, so that with a loving, devoted mother, often people do not believe that the two can coincide. And
I
I,
love
I, I disagree.
I love that. That's really nice. That is really nice. Beautiful. Yeah, that's really good.
Thank you.
My next question is, how has motherhood changed your perspective on yourself, your goals, and your life in general?
Oh, I'd say it's given me more fuel to succeed, actually. Because you want to create a life for your family, whether
Mm,
that's experiences, whether that's opportunities, whether that's financial freedom, generational wealth, whatever that looks like, whatever your goals are. But I think if it's just for yourself, for me personally anyway, I think it's not as much of a driver. When you have two small people watching you, you want to achieve for them. I know that, people have said to me before, oh, but children, they just want you there, it doesn't matter. But I think it does matter. I think it does matter. I think if you can create a life by design for your children on the basis of the work that you do, I think you can impact other people and support other people.
I love that.
And then in turn, you can be rewarded, and that can change your children's lives. I think that's absolutely amazing exchange. And I think that is a driver enough to get up every day and keep showing up even when you don't want to.
Oh, I love that. That is beautiful. So, so true and so relatable. Definitely.
Mhm.
My next question is, what did you have to sacrifice to become a mum?
Oh, what did I
Or
have to
what parts of you,
sacrifice?
however that manifests?
Yeah. Um, I would say I had to let go of old versions of myself. So old beliefs. Um, Yeah, I shed lifestyle. As I touched on before, I no longer drink. That was a choice for me as well. You don't have to do that becoming a mother, but for me, it was, I really shed old versions of myself, old unhealed versions of myself, and yeah, I think I let go of that. So for me, it was a gift to step into the journey of healing, the journey of self-discovery, the journey of unlearning to learn again, if that makes sense.
Well, makes perfect sense. Unlearning to learn again. I love that. Really cool. So, what has been the gift of motherhood? What's some of the like for you? What's the ultimate gift of motherhood?
I think the gift is watching your children, their characters form, watching their little personalities. It's just amazing how different they can be. I mean, you've got five, so as you said, lots of different unique, but even with the two, it's just like, wow, the different personalities and watching their interests and the little things that they're showing you and teaching you. And I just think, wow, isn't it amazing? What a gift. What a
Absolutely.
gift it is to have these small human beings that love you. Like,
Yeah.
how blessed am I?
Oh my God, definitely, definitely. I love the way you said about the dynamics of two, because as soon as you said that, I remember Lashane Trey being small, because they might have two elders. And I remember the dynamic shifting as soon as Trey came along and just watching them through the crack of the door, just seeing how they interact. And siblings have their own language. Like you just see, like they don't always say things, but the other one knows what to do. And I'm like, what's going on? You just realize like they just know who's they sort of it doesn't matter who's older or younger as well. They just have this dynamics of who's the leader of the pack and who's
Yeah.
going to do what. And it's so amazing. I love how you talked about their different personalities. Like we all eat, sleep, and do everything in the same home, but so different, so unique. It's just fascinating. It
It
really
is. It really is.
beautiful. So we're actually at the part of the interview where we go into a couple of trivia questions just to lighten the mood ever so slightly. So the first one here is if your daughters were to write a book about you, what would the titles be? Two books, one each.
Oh, wow. What was the title? Two books. So one, I would say one, my eldest daughter would probably be like a go-getter. Something about
Oh,
me being a go-getter. She loves it. I've recently started creating a podcast with some other people, friends of mine, and she's like, wow, how cool is that? And yeah, oh, speaking on stage, whoa. And maybe doing a trip to Dubai at some point. And she's like, wow, you can't go without me. She's like, so she's really watching it and following the
can't
journey.
do
And
that,
yeah,
me.
she's the one who's commenting on outfits I'm wearing and everything. So I say, go get her. She's watching me, really watching me. And the other child is very, very sweet, lovely, sweet natured. I would say she has seen probably the softer side of me over the years, because you are practicing with your first child somewhat. So I would say she'd see something about the softness of me.
Oh. Gosh, talking to you, Siobhan, you're bringing back all the memories. Love the way you just articulated that. And you said it, I don't know if you caught it, but you said like we practice on the first one and then the second one or the others that come, they get the softness. I
Yeah,
can totally relate to that. Oh my gosh. And
yeah.
it's so beautiful because we have this joke, you might hear it if we're doing interviews. My oldest will say, I was the experiment child, mum tried it. and,
Yeah.
and we laugh about it, but that was the reality. Like I didn't know what I was doing. I was a different person, and every child that comes along, it's like they get that more diluted version of you, the more
Yeah.
settled, the more peaceful, the more patient. So like, yeah, my daughter had to deal with a lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My poor girl did as well. Yeah.
Gosh, it's so funny. I love your book titles, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful. So the next question is, what's the funniest mum fail moment that you can remember?
Oh, funniest mum fail. I would say, oh, let me think. There's
I'll
probably
give
lots,
I'll
a
give you an
lot.
example. There's so many to choose from, but I
Okay.
used to go back to school a day earlier, thinking that my kids were due at school, and they were like, "No, it's not till tomorrow, mum." And
Yeah,
I
I have
was
had one of those. Yeah, I have had. I think it was it was Numbers Day at school, and I was like, I'm not buying a whole outfit just for a number. You know what I mean? It's not something you're gonna wear again. It's not like World Book Day. So I was like, oh, the day before, what am I gonna get? What am I gonna get? So I had to quickly run to a shop, and this is in the evening before, and buy white knee-high socks with a Sharpie pen. I was writing numbers all over those socks, top to toe.
brilliant. At least you were
Improvising.
creative.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
improvising.
fantastic. Yeah, like you said, there is a load to choose from.
Yeah, a lot.
Oh, it always happens. And it's the way they go, no, mum, you can't do that. And no, mum, you can't just replace that for the recipe. It needs this. I was
Yeah.
always that mum. It's like, oh, can this work? Like, no. So you're just running off. Thank God Tesco's is 24 hours.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, it was hilarious. I don't miss those days.
Oh,
Oh, but it's beautiful. It's those moments you can all grapple with because they go, oh, mum, remember that time? And they always remember it slightly different to you because they tell the truth about it. To
you
not make it
softened it.
so bad.
Yeah,
Oh, it's beautiful. It's priceless.
yeah.
So my next question is where is your go-to hideout if you need a break?
Oh, I would say to the bathroom. With most mums just hide away for a moment's peace. Because I mean, especially if it's just me on my own with the children, and they haven't seen you if you come down from working, or if it's on the weekend. Mum, 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 look, 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 look. And they're the age where it's like, watch me dance, look, look, watch this on TV, watch this character. And I'm thinking, oh, sometimes it's sensory overload. So sometimes you just need to tap out and have a moment to yourself. And I think that's my quick sanctuary.
That's beautiful. The reason why, sorry for my response, but
Oh, it's okay.
with my stories and some of the mums we've been speaking to, it's been so funny. It's like, I'll go to the toilet and they just used to follow like ducks in a row. It's like, you know, they won't go to the toilet with dad. It's like with mums, it was just like this common theme that so many mums like, yeah, that's really relatable. They come in and the audacity is that they'll lock the door behind them. Like, then they want to talk to you. You're like, I kind of came in here for me.
Yeah, boundaries again, like you said.
Exactly. But I did used to love to have my bubble baths and just be in there and just like,
Oh
even if it was mum, they would sort of whisper at the door. I don't know if your daughters do that, but they'd go at the door, say, Mum, what's wrong? Have I done something wrong? Could you
Oh, how sweet.
just needed to catch my breath?
Yeah,
And it was
yeah,
this like, as soon as you get in, it was like, Mum, 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 Mum. And
yeah.
you come home with some sweets, come home with some toys that you can kind of give them that for a minute and then you can go and have a little bit of a fun.
Yeah, yeah, very
That's like
true.
a diversion tactic.
Yeah.
So precious memories, isn't it? So my
Mm.
next question is what's the strangest thing that you've ever found in your child's backpack or pocket?
Oh, well, actually, one of my daughters, I don't know what she's thinking, is had one of my lip glosses in her pocket. In her pocket. I said, "What are you thinking of? No way." One of my lip glosses in her pocket. So
Oh,
she
they
told
love
her
it.
friends, was like, "Oh no, 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 we're not starting that. Not on 7, no way."
Well, yeah, no, you've got all of that to come, darling.
Yeah, it's a long time, I hope.
Oh, I think all us mums have got these funny stories, but when you speak about lip gloss, I remember Lachey. So she started quite young, being in newspapers and various things. I remember saying to her, when you go to school, don't use like coloured lip balm. So
Mm.
there was this Vaseline, it was like the pink one, so her lips looked like she was wearing lipsticks. I was like, don't do that. And her stepdad was really strict as well. So I was like, don't do that. Like, it's just going to be hell to pay with. So anyway, I remember she came home for an interview for the newspaper and it was meant to be during lunchtime, but they had something else to go to quickly. So they said, could we go to school and do it because we can't get to your home? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. I sort of, you brief your daughters, like, do this, don't do that. What did she do to me, Siobhan?
No.
The newspaper came out. I never forget. We lived in Ilford at the time. I went past the station. There's a news agent's there, and I saw my daughter on front cover with bright red lips, like this, smiling her face off with a lipstick I told her not to. So you've got all of that joy to come forth. Her
Oh,
eyelashes done, and I said, "Those are not the eyelashes I birthed you with, and that's not the colour of your lips." It was so. It wasn't funny at the time, but
no, no,
laugh
no.
about it right now, like
So
this
funny.
day. And she goes, "Oh, Mum, it's because you kept on saying to me, like, I don't need to put it on. I was in school. You have no idea what goes on in school, what we go
Yeah,
through."
so true. It's so
So
true.
you've
Have
got all
that
those
to look forward
joys.
to.
Yeah, you've got all that to come, sweetie. My next question is, if our community of listeners could support you in 3 transformative ways, what would you ask for?
I would say come and follow me on LinkedIn, Siobhan Mears. I would say come and get to know me better, not just follow me. Let's strike up the conversation. Let's continue this conversation. I think it's so important for us to get to know each other. And then the third one would be drop me any questions that you might have. If anything in this conversation has sparked any thoughts, anything that you want to go deeper on, whether that's healing or anything like that. I'm definitely not a psychotherapist, but I do mindset coaching and business coaching. So if there's anything that you feel that as you'd like a bit more support with, whether that's setting up your own business, I'm always happy to offer advice.
Excellent. So, like, if it was like even deeper than that, Siobhan, like if there was like a TV show you wanted to be on or someone you wanted to
Okay.
partner with, what would that be? What would that look like?
Oh, amazing. So I think with the Dubai business trip that I'm talking about, I'm looking for ways to make that happen. So I'm looking for opportunities to do some business in Dubai to make that trip a worthwhile trip.
Oh, I
So
like
if
that.
there's anyone that is out there who could benefit from me as a speaker, so I speak on many stages on topics from motherhood in business to growing your business, strategy, working smarter, greater ease, all of that. So if anybody would like to for me to come and speak on a stage, or to come and do one-to-one strategy sessions. I also offer that.
Perfect. That's lovely. So, what's one way that you plan to pay it forward in your own life and surrounding areas with friends, strangers, as a result of this conversation today?
Oh, that's really beautiful. I think it's inspired me to reconnect with other mothers in my life. Well, not necessarily reconnect that we're disconnected, but just, check in with them and see how they're doing. Because there is that silent load that we've touched on here on many levels. So just checking in with how they're feeling, really, because they could be having a bad day. They might be struggling under the weight of it because, we've navigated it to this point, but there's times where it has been challenging, and it's important to know that another woman who gets it is there for you.
Oh, that's such a beautiful way to pay it forward. I love that. That is so beautiful. I love the way you said it's not necessary that we're disconnected, but just really check in, really just check
Checking in.
doing okay. It's beautiful. So the next question I have is, how do you hope sharing your story on this platform will impact others?
I hope that it will inspire other women. That's one thing that I love to be able to do, inspire my daughters, but also inspire other women to show them what's possible. Um, Everything that I've created was from a foundation of nothing really. It was a foundation that I had gone through trauma. I had built up a career, but I certainly had no backdrop to fall back on. It was a case of having that driver inside of me to succeed, to make something beautiful for my daughters, create that legacy that we talked about. And I just want to know that for women out there, if they're on the fence, because I had to battle a lot of fear, and that's why I've developed my work into mindset coaching as well, because I had to go through a lot of fear to come out on the other side. So I want to show them that it's not always easy, but it's always worth it. And just watch others that are doing it, and not from a sense of comparisonitis, but showing. I always like to think if somebody else is doing it, that's possible for me too.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That is absolutely beautiful. I'm going to add to that. It's beautiful. Absolutely
Yeah.
gorgeous. The next question I have is, what are you proud of yourself for?
Okay, so I'm proud of myself for the journey in business that I've had and what I've achieved whilst raising two small children. So first, I set up my business on maternity leave, and then I went on to have my second child 3.5 years later. There's no maternity leave when you're an entrepreneur, so it's a case of still navigating and continuing to grow the business whilst growing two small children, and trying to be there as present as I could for both. So navigating that through the early years was not always easy, but I'm proud of myself for doing that and for continuing to grow my business so that I can impact more women, female founders. So yeah, I would say I'm proud of myself for the journey I've gone, and that journey has been business growth, personal growth, spiritual growth, and growth as a mother. So all of that has combined from really doing the work in all areas. So I'd say it's been an exhausting 7 years, but also so rewarding. So
Yeah.
rewarding. If I sat back and looked at, as we touched on before, what could have been or whatever, I decided to really go for it.
Well done. Good for you. I'm proud of you too.
Thank you.
Amazing. What do you want to say sorry to yourself for?
Mm. I'd say sorry to myself for self-abandonment all those years ago and not backing myself, prior to this 7 years, just abandoning yourself or in many different ways. And I just think not backing yourself, the self-belief that you can do it and really, really taking that leap of faith. So I'm gifted that by the catalyst of becoming a mother that really springboarded me into this whole journey that I've been on in the past 7 years. But prior to that, I was living in fear really. Yeah. So on the other side of that fear, there's just life is incomparable.
I love that. You're so, oh, I love the way you put that together. Really lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Really appreciate you being so open. What do you have to forgive yourself for? So although we might be sorry, what is it that you kind of feel you need to forgive so you can kind of release?
Hmm. I would say for not having it all figured out in the early years of motherhood. That first year, I'd say, not having it all figured out, and, any mum guilt that I might have for not being, not for showing up how I wanted to, or for just not having it all figured out, I would say. Um, yeah, I think for not doing the healing work earlier.
Yeah, it's beautiful that you're choosing to forgive yourself for that. It's lovely.
Yeah. You don't want to hold on to shame. It's just a
Yeah,
very positive,
exactly.
I feel.
What are some things that you kind of think that you should say thank you to yourself for? Just maybe there's a couple of things you sort of think, I want to say thank you for that.
Yeah, I would say thank you to myself for going on a self-discovery journey, because I think ignorance can be bliss sometimes. It's easier. It's the easiest route. It's just not package things up, don't go there, just keep living your life. But I think if you really want to fulfill your true potential, um, you have to step over that boundary. And I'm so glad that I took that leap of faith. It has not been easy, but it has so been worth it. So I'd say thank you to Siobhan 7 years ago, who decided to do that, because that was difficult and I did it. And then I think I would say thank you to myself for being the best mum that I can be without an example beside me. You know, I haven't seen my mum since I was a teenager, so it's probably, gosh, it's a long time. Yeah, it's probably about 25 years. So it's a long time.
Good for you,
Yeah.
Siobhan. Good for you. Well done. My final question to you is, what are you willing to let go of and heal from as a result of today's conversation?
Hmm. I'm willing to let go of any guilt. Yeah, I think everything's a work in progress. But I think, yeah, let go of any guilt. I think, we are all human beings trying our best. We
Yeah.
are all learning. It never ends. There's no blueprint to life. There's no blueprint to motherhood. And I think as long as we have a good heart, if we have good intentions, pure intentions, and we want to be better every day. And I don't mean that from a we're not good enough, you have to keep improving in that respect. But I mean, we want to do better. We want to show up as a better person, as a better mother, as a better human being in every area. I think just forgive yourself that what I know today and what I knew yesterday, I did the best with what I had available to me.
I love that. Well, Siobhan, thank you so much for spending time with me and for sharing your story with our listeners and viewers.
Welcome.
I can't thank you enough. Call to action for you listeners. Listeners, words into action. If you're moved by today's stories, think about how you could offer some support, no matter how big or small. Whether it's for something through a kind message or a shared result or connecting with our guests, let's build a community that uplifts and empowers each other. Thank you for tuning in to the Unheard Cries of a Mother. Your story matters. Together, we can create ripple effects of understanding, support, and transformation. If today's conversation resonated with you, please like, comment, and subscribe, and share this episode with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, as mothers, we are stronger together. Until next time, let's keep uplifting one another and turning unheard cries into powerful voices. Thank you so much.
Thank you.